Midas Mighty, I want to introduce you to an extraordinary person. And here, I always like to think about how we can potentially get through to people who are under the hypnotic spell of MAGA and Donald Trump. What is it when they seem to be spewing venom and hate all of the time? And my paths crossed with an individual named Cory Hargraves. He's an ex-Army sniper, and I want to just give you a brief background on him. Then I'll bring him on. Grew up poor in a Native American reservation. He joined the military because there were simply no other opportunities out there. He found his way navigating the Army system to become a sniper. He did 2 deployments in Iraq, and as a sniper there was in the thick of it. Came back home front. Things did not go well. He got into trouble with the law. He was in and out of prison. Then he met his wife, and she changed his life. He discovered empathy. He just started listening. He started focusing on hearing her and other people like her thoughts. Started working jobs and being entrepreneurial. And then started recently just doing some videos on TikTok here and there. And that's where I came across this incredible individual. His name is Cory Hargraves. And I think his story is important. When I spoke to Cory, one of the most important things he was telling me about is he goes, Ben, it's empathy. The secret ingredient is empathy, empathy, empathy. It's changed my life. And if we understand true empathy, we could really understand how to start speaking to the hearts and minds of lots of Americans. Let's bring him in. Cory, first off, thank you for your service. And just if you can, just introduce yourself to our audience here. And then perhaps just, I gave a brief background there, and perhaps you can give some of your background as well.
Yeah, so I'm Cory Hargraves. I'm a former sniper in the Army, and I was MAGA before MAGA. I grew up in the country on an Indian reservation, single mom, single wide trailer. And it was through my deployments, my very unique experiences as a sniper, and for lack of a better term, like ending human life. That is what really started me putting myself in other people's shoes.
And so, you did this video recently, Combat Veterans' Thoughts on Cybertruck Bomber. You call out in this video, all of these like alpha podcasters. In fact, one's a Navy SEAL, and you point out in the video, look, the Navy SEAL here should really know better than to kind of spew these conspiracies and disinformation. But it was important for, I think, you to give the perspective of someone who actually was in war, someone who was a sniper, someone who took life and then came back to the home front. And there wasn't a whole lot of opportunities when you come back. And one of the points that you make, and I'd love for you to elaborate on it, so you have all of these MAGA people, many of whom never actually served the nation, doing this kind of alpha shtick, this alpha bro, this kind of tough guy thing. But the language that they utilize, taken to its natural conclusion, is death. It's killing people. And one of the messages that you've had out there is you don't know what that's like. So stop pretending, stop doing that. When you're out there in the field and you've been doing it, your perspective is different, and your language is going to put other people like the 18-year-old Cory Hargraves out in war zones potentially and get people hurt. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I think a lot of people have a false perception on what the ending of human life looks like, because a lot of people, they have lived inside of a bubble of America for a long time, which that's a good thing, right? But it's the point where we stop empathizing, because I can tell you right now, ending human life is absolutely brutal. I ended a person's life super close to me, and the only thing that I seen in his eyes was absolute terror. And you got to understand too, when I was this age, I was led to believe that these people were completely different than me, different skin color, different religion. They don't care about life. They strap a bomb to their chest and they blow themselves up. They just don't care, right? But in that moment, when we were looking at each other and he was on the ground, I could see in his eyes the absolute terror that he felt because he knew that his life was over. And immediately after I did that, I felt sick to my stomach. And this was the first time that I did this up close, right? So I superimposed that experience on all of my wartime experiences. And I think the thing that people don't understand is everybody is experiencing the world in a similar fashion, right? So that could have very well been me on the ground, pleading for my life. It could have been my wife, my child, and in my brain, over time, that's who it was because I changed his face into people that I knew, and I don't think people think about the consequences of the language that they use because it always starts with language. Dehumanizing starts with language. The ending of human life by other humans, it always starts with language.
The incident that you discussed where it was close range, which you're referencing as well, is that there were a lot of other incidents where as a sniper, you were called upon in a time of war to take life at a far distance as a sniper.
Correct.
There was this time that it was a close. So let's take us though. You come back to America. That's, you did 2 deployments. You had previously told me when you and I spoke offline, that second deployment was a really rough go, for
Brutal,
a lot of reasons.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you come back, tell our audience the 2 locations you were deployed to.
So my first deployment, I was in Sadr City, and then my second deployment, I was in Arab Jabor, both in Iraq.
And so then you come back home, and not a lot of opportunities here. Obviously, your experiences there were incredibly traumatic, and you're here, and then you get into trouble with the law. We don't have to delve into all of that, but you're in and out of jail. You're in and out of prison. You meet your wife at some point, and then that changes things. Can you talk about, though, when all of a sudden finding empathy and what meeting your wife and having those experiences did, though, that kind of brought you a different type of purpose than you ever had in your whole life before that?
Yeah, sure. So when I got home, I was typical veteran story. I was in and out of jail. I was drinking a lot. I was just having a really rough time because really all I felt was guilt, disgust. I felt all of these emotions that a lot of men don't talk about. And I thought about that experience. I still think about that experience, not as much now, but when I first got home, it was when I went to sleep at night. It was the first thought I thought of when I woke up. I thought about it when I was sleeping. I would wake up in the middle of the night and I would be thinking about it. And what that did was it drove these deep ruts of empathy where I'm putting other people who I love in that man's shoes. So when I met my wife, I kind of already had these ruts of empathy, probably unhealthy, traumatic empathy. But I met my wife and she's giving me her perspective on the world, right? About women's rights, about equality, about bodily autonomy. And I empathized with her, right? If you don't know what empathy is, it's when you literally become the other person. You're no longer you. You are the other person inside of their brain with their thoughts and their experiences. And I think that's the key to a healthy marriage, by the way, is I tried to experience the world as my wife. And once you do that, you do that to anybody you talk to, a person of color, people that don't have a lot of money, right? Just with anybody and everybody, it's going to change your view of the world because empathy is a very powerful lens that humans should view the world through it.
Now, one of your messages that, are on your TikToks, and many of them have gone kind of super viral though, is trying to reach out to others. I mean, not just those in the military community and veterans who are frequently portrayed in the media as kind of leaning MAGA and leading Trump, despite the fact that Trump claimed bone spurs to avoid multiple occasions service in the Vietnam War. But you have a broader message to this kind of alpha culture out there, because while they lionize and try to create this machismo, or they speak to these, starting with the gamers. That's how you got, starting with the gamers up through the kind of next tier, then the right-wing podcasters, the fighting, all of the things that kind of pushes them to MAGA adjacent, and then into MAGA world. It's a pipeline right there. And a lot of those people don't have your experiences, and they're cosplaying you. They're cosplaying like what you did. So give us the kind of final message that you want to deliver to them and to all of those people out there. The 14-year-old kid playing Call of Duty, the 16-year-old who just listened to their first Joe Rogan podcast, the 17-year-old who hears Jordan Peterson sounding smart but actually saying things that dehumanize the other. What's your perspective on all of that?
My perspective is it's okay to be insecure, right? It's okay to have insecurities about your masculinity. It's okay to feel fear. It's okay to feel all of those emotions. It is not okay to deflect those emotions and build up this giant wall of masculinity that's not real. Because ultimately, that's what people are doing, is they are avoiding the real, true emotions that they feel inside of themselves. And I believe that it behooves us as men to analyze those emotions and find out what they're trying to tell us. And it's going to lead you to ruin if you continue down this red pill road. I assure you, you are going to lead an unhappy life. You are going to view women as inferior. You are going to constantly hide your insecurities from the world and never deal with your actual problems. And I think that is not going to lead to a good life.
Well, Cory, we'll make this part one of our interview. I want to come back for a part two to explore more of these issues, get more guidance from you in terms of how this can be messaged. I wanted to start with part one to introduce you to our audience. I wanted them to get to be introduced to you, hear your story. And they're going to be hearing more from you. So I just want to thank you for your service again. Look, these are hard topics to be, discussing in front of millions of people. So look, we're grateful for you sharing them, and we hope you come back for a part two, and we'll keep getting these ideas out.
Sounds good. Thanks, Ben.
All right, everybody, hit subscribe. Let's get to 4 million subscribers. And thanks everybody for watching. Have a good day.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.